Number 6. Bay Bridge, rezone, owner petitioner, J3 LLC, 14400 Lakeshore Drive, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Vicinity between 149th and Colfax to 153rd Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Petitioner is requesting a rezone from agricultural to planned unit development, PUD, and to amend the existing planned unit development, PUD zoning into one cohesive planned unit development, PUD. Review of legals. Legals?
We have received them. They just need to be verified.
Okay.
We do have copies that were delivered tonight, so we'll, subject to verification, we have them.
Okay, sounds good.
You want that angle to the side so other people can see it? Thank you. Sorry.
I don't know where to put it. Mr. Kapura, thanks for having us tonight. Is pretty consistent with the last couple of meetings. Steve Gill, 14400 Lakeshore Drive, Cedar Lake, Indiana.
Thank you.
I have here tonight Mr. Tim Oakes, and I'm sure at some point Tim will be up here speaking. He is our legal counsel.
Okay.
So just to introduce him to the commission and everybody. The request is pretty much unchanged with the exception of we answered a series of questions that were given to us by Joe and by the staff. And so I forwarded the answers to those to supply to the commission. I want to say last Friday at about 11 a.m. I dropped them off. And it would be basically the PUD guidelines. Joe has some comments and things of that nature. I did get some comments from Don Alfont. However, there was no way I was going to answer those by the deadline of noon. So, and most of them were kind of planning related and things like that. So I'm hoping everybody received the revised PUD guidelines with the comments that were addressed in red. And I know Joe mentioned that it was an attempt to tighten up the proposal. And just to remind everybody, and I don't know if you've had a chance to review the existing zoning, Bay Bridge is kind of unique in that we already have a planned unit development zoning on the project. The existing zoning on Bay Bridge, as far as units go, it basically allows you to build the same number of units that we're proposing right now. You'll notice there's 210 acres on the site. We have 110 acres of open space, some different product types, but it already has, this is kind of unique in that it already has PUD zoning. So, and again, that was back from 2005, 2006. And we just think that this plan is a little bit better. John had requested a road cut to the north in that one area, not a problem. Chris wanted the easternmost drive to the north dedicated as a dedicated public road instead of a private road, that's not a problem. Things like that. There were certain requests made that we tried to address in the comments in the PUD guidelines. And I think we pretty much did that. So everybody's seen the project now for a couple months. So if you have any questions on the Bay Bridge project.
Well, we're still looking for lot size widths, change, we like wider widths, you know that.
Right.
I'd like to see a couple of different entrance and exits other than the bridge, because I'm not sure how that's going to work. And did Let me read this to you, on, PUDs. Findings, okay? The use proposed will not be deterrent to present and potential surrounding uses, but will have a beneficial effect which could not be achieved under any other zoning district. Number two, any amendment to the requirements of the zoning district is warranted by the design and amenities incorporated in the developmental plans. Number three, land surrounding the proposed development either can be planned in coordination with the proposed development or will be compatible to in use. Four, the proposed change to a planned unit development PUD zoning district is in confirmation with the general intent of the comprehensive master plan. Number five, existing and proposed streets are suitable and adequate to carry anticipated traffic within the proposed zoning district within the vicinity of the proposed zoning district. Number six, existing and personalized utility services are adequate for the proposed development. And number seven, each phase of the proposed development as it is proposed to be completed contained the required parking spaces, landscaping, and utility areas necessary for creating and sustaining a desirable and suitable environment. Have you followed any of those, Steve, or addressed any of those?
Yes, we are aware of those, yes.
That wasn't my question, if you're aware.
For the record, my name is Tim Oaks. I'm an attorney at Ice Miller offices at 1 American Square, Suite 2300, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46282-0200. Here on behalf of the petitioner. Yes, and we believe we meet all of those requirements. First of all, the requirements as you listed them are for rezoning initially to a PUD. We're not doing that here. What we're doing is amending an existing PUD, and that's a little bit different. We're amending it because we're changing, and we'd like to change the site plan, and we believe to a superior land plan than what already exists. Under that land plan for existence, the existing PUD, there is only one access point. So that's not changing. That was already approved in a PUD ordinance for the town already. So we believe we meet all of those requirements, and this is just an amendment to an existing PUD, not a new one.
That's it? You're not going to change anything, you don't want to negotiate with us, you don't want to...
We've been asked to modify the lot widths, and the developer is not willing to do that at this point.
Well, the town does not approve 50-foot wide lots, our basic lot size is 70-foot wide.
I understand what is proposed in our PUD is that there be 50-foot lots.
And we don't want that.
All right, I understand. So we are not changing that, and I assume that your recommendation will be according to that.
We also require two exits, entrance and exits.
The existing project only has one now.
Wow, that's what you had, what was it, 15 years ago when it was approved?
Doesn't matter. It's an existing ordinance. So, having said that, there is, based on the comments that we had received, there is an access now to the north, and Steve can point it out on the drawing.
So Chris had requested that, whether it was 148th Avenue or Cherry Street, that the road, I'll point to the commission for a second, this road right here, instead of private, this road would be a publicly dedicated street to get out to the north, so there would be an access to the north. like I said, that being said, have no problem providing that. We understand that.
Can we see that too? What you just showed him?
Right, there's an access down here, and then we have an access up here via Cherry Street or 148th, it's called out both. Mr. Foreman asked that a road step be put here in the future when we get down to the engineering and all that, so there's a few things that were requested. And we did have no problem, and we do agree with that, so we do have 2 access points.
Okay, town engineer, do you have any comments?
We issued a letter on the 15th. It's pretty in-depth. To go to your point, John, we brought up the same concerns about finding the facts 5, 6, and 7, and not information to potentially concur that that information has been provided. That would include traffic flow, preliminary engineering, and construction sequencing. I also have my concerns about the northern access. We made a point that currently, as it's shown on the development plan, there are private streets that would access that point. That point is also outside of the town of Cedar Lake's jurisdiction, and the only point of ingress back into the town's jurisdiction does not appear to be platted right away. One of our comments was to provide title work to ensure that 147th actually does connect into Reeder Road. Right now, on the county GIS, it's not showing this connecting. Several other comments regarding some of their waiver requests regarding setbacks, general comments about how they are going to manage open space areas, park areas, how that corresponds to current ordinances. Several stuff. You noted the bridge. That is a pretty large variation from the originally approved PUD. There's no engineering or traffic studies to support that at this time either. You can read my letter. Those are the biggest bullet points. But yeah, it's missing some stuff that we normally see.
What's the side yard width?
5 feet.
5 feet. It also states in our subdivision ordinance that, control ordinance that we need, for safety reasons, we need at least 8-foot, 10-foot side yards, so that we can get safety vehicles, whether it be fire department, police cars, ambulance, whatever, back there. 5 feet is not going to allow us to do that.
Right, well, obviously 10 feet between buildings.
No. We're talking one lot. Now, you could take it, you can throw an air conditioner up there, which is going to take up, what, 3 feet, 2 feet? Probably 3 feet of that 5 foot. All right, your neighbor throws up a fence. You're going to have, what, skinny guy running through there with a fire extinguisher? You know, we need, for safety reasons, this stuff is put in for safety reasons. And we would like larger side yards. Now, that hasn't been addressed. All we ever get from you, Steve, is we're going to proceed as is. We're going to proceed as is.
Well,
And it doesn't seem like you want to work with us.
Well,
most developers that come in here work with Plan Commission in the town to get their project to the finish line as quickly as possible. That doesn't seem like it's happening here.
Well, John, I mean, if you allow me, the basic comments that were made was, unless you go 70-foot wide lots and get rid of all the townhouses, you really weren't interested in anything else. I mean, that's kind of what it was said.
That was a request on paper.
I mean, and I actually did make the request of Mr. Lotton, what you asked, right? So I did try calling.
That were on the other two.
On the other two, but I'm just
Not on
saying,
this,
so.
not on this,
But
so I want to stick to this.
But this project, as Tim Oakes has already said, is kind of unique in that there's already an existing zoning, there's an existing plan unit development, and the project, as it is zoned right now, can support the same number of units, if not more, than what we're proposing here. So it's not like we're starting from scratch on this. This is already an approved zoning of a plan unit development, and we're simply presenting an alternate land plan that removes all of the units from the lower section by 153rd, removes all the units that back up to this subdivision. There were a bunch drawn in here before. We think that we have a far superior land plan to what's already approved for us. So it's kind of a little bit different. That's why I guess we would like to proceed kind of as we have drawn it, or else we have an existing approval that is in place. So, unless, Tim, if I'm incorrect, please. And I think that's kind of where we're at. And I think we have, and again, it doesn't mean, to Mr. Allison's point, when it was requested to spend $750,000 on engineering, when you don't even know if you have an approved land plan.
Steve, I requested any engineering.
Yeah, I mean,
Any, not final.
any engineering is gonna cost us a ton of money, Don, you know that. This is a very,
Let me ask you this, Steve. You had engineering for that original PUD. Why can't that be relied on?
well, the only engineering that I've been able to get for that original PUD, which I believe there's probably none done, with the exception of that bridge.
No, I think there was substantial engineering completed by B3 in 2008.
If there's engineering, and the staff was kind enough to actually forward me the engineering, and it's only 4 sheets of paper.
I
that was done on the bridge.
imagine the petitioner
So,
paid for that engineering.
well, Don, I'm just telling you, I don't have it, so.
Well, I mean, that's why our letter is stating the way it is. We don't have any engineering to make any decisions for that.
Well, I guess in all due respect, we're not asking to plat it right now.
I didn't say that, but a requirement of your PUD is to provide preliminary engineering to support the petition.
Well, in addition to this, we gave you, I guess it would be, this could be the preliminary development plan, we gave you a development plan. It shows we have the contours, we have things like that, but we do not have that type of engineering you're looking for. It's simply to expect, I mean, it's not reasonable to expect that right now at this stage of the game.
What's required?
Well, I mean, it's just an awful big expense to bring that kind of project in here and present it to the plan commission, and everybody says, no, we don't like it, go back and redo it, spend another $1 million. I mean, if you look at it from our perspective, it seems, come on, I mean, we don't mind working with the town, but just to go out there and have an expense like that, just because
You haven't started working with
I
the
mean,
shed. You haven't started working with the shed.
with the what?
I said you haven't started working with this yet. All you come in here is tell us what you're gonna do, and that's it. We're gonna proceed this way, that's all we're gonna do. You have very little to say other than that. Have you done a traffic study?
We have not, no.
No, well, we'd like to have a traffic study to see how much traffic is gonna be coming out that bridge onto, the 153rd Street Bridge.
Again, if this were a new PUD from scratch, I might concede that point, but as Mr. Kill stated, the existing PUD allows as many or more units than what's shown already. So what's the point of a traffic study when the number of trips is not changing from the current entitlement to the property? So from our perspective, that's just a waste of money.
Is it Mr. Cook?
Folks, yes.
A PUD like this does not get granted today in Cedar Lake. This PUD was approved in 2003 or 2004, and it stayed out there. No one ever did anything with it. They came in here, got approval, and they sold a PUD development without a plat. So it was incomplete when it was approved. Why it got approved, I have no idea. But that would not happen in 2023 in this community.
I appreciate that. And you can criticize the plan commission or the council.
I'm not
Back
criticizing
when it was,
we're just-
hold on, let me finish, please. Back when back when it was originally done. But the truth is, it was approved, and it does exist, and we can't ignore that.
It was approved by what the town considered in that time, just like there were things approved here in 1940 that seemed reasonable in that time. Times change, things progress, standards change, requirements change, the citizens' expectations change, and that's where we're at today in 2023. All those changes have happened over the last 25 years.
So as we speak, my client has the ability to develop under the existing PUD. And what he's done is presented...
Mr. Oaks, that's possible, providing he met all the other requirements, and I've got 10 of them written down here. Legitimate concerns why this development is not ready for any approval.
You talking about this one or the old one?
I'm talking about the old one and this one.
Okay. Well, the zoning is in place for the old one. My client believes he
I
can
won't argue with
proceed
you about the
forward.
zoning. I can't argue with you about the zoning, because the zoning was approved, but that's all that was approved, that's it. The zoning was approved, that's all you got. You don't have nothing else, you don't have access to this place. It's questionable whether both entrances that you're proposing are questionable without a helicopter currently. So, I mean, I don't know what you want the Plan Commission to do with this, but it would be incompetent, in my view, to proceed any further until we have a better idea of what is going to happen and some of these contingencies or these concerns addressed, with all due respect.
I understand the request. My client is not willing to spend the money that you're suggesting, and I think this plan as presented is more sensitive to the surrounding neighbors, and it does not increase the overall number of units. We think it's a better plan. If it is something that the town doesn't want, then fine, deny it, and we'll go back to the old one.
Let me interject, Mr. Oaks, Plan Commission members. Your ordinance in section C2 speaks to the expiration of a development plan, a final development plan, if it's not acted upon after a certain period of time, which clearly is not been the case here. So I am concerned about reliance on the old development plan. That doesn't take away an underlying ordinance that calls for something to be developed here, but I do not believe, based on your current ordinance, that the old development plan can be turned into a plat and building permits. Based on the
We disagree with that position, and there are other existing ordinances adopted by the town that suggest otherwise, but that's not before you tonight, and I'm happy to talk to Mr. Cauldron about that after the hearing. What's before you is our request to amend the PUD to the plan that's shown before you.
I certainly think it would be good for us to try to compromise on something other than what was initially presented, because it is, I would agree, more sensitive. I think the ability to widen the lot and some of the other things that are brought up would be beneficial as well. As we've stated the last couple of months since we've seen it, and I also understand the side from spending a lot of money on engineering, then you come back and it's not good, and you go back to the drawing board. I get both sides of the fence here from petitioner as well as on behalf of our community. So I feel like we should try to figure out a way to compromise. Someone has emailed me right now, John's got a letter here, et cetera. And so, seems, that's my point.
Mr. Foreman, I don't disagree that there might be some sort of compromise to this, but we're not gonna get there tonight. This is gonna take time and a significant amount of time. This 2-week cram down is crap, and everybody knows it.
So, as far as Bay Bridge goes now, your concern is, by what I'm hearing now, is moving the 50-foot lots to 70-foot. What about the townhomes? I mean,
You mean what?
we're zoned for it right now, so I guess I didn't know about the townhomes. What is the feeling about that?
I am not a big fan of townhomes because they look like row houses. You know, I did my time in the service. That's my personal thought.
Sure.
Okay, not the town per se, but mine. Okay? We can't get everything we want, but, you know, that's what negotiating is. Take a little, give a little. Okay, all you want to do is take, you don't want to give anything. Okay, we can start with the 70-foot lots. We can talk about townhouses. How many units in a building on a townhouse?
Well, John, there's various, it just depends on where it's at.
Various, that's always your answer, various.
There's some that are 4 units, but these are all ranches. There's some that are 2, because this is an age-restricted community, 55 and over. There's nothing other than a 1-story unit here. These are all single-story units.
All the townhomes are 1 story.
All the townhomes are 1 story, so it's really not
A townhome.
a townhome. They're single-story. It's all age-restricted, 55 and over.
Single-story connected.
Single-story connected, yes. We're calling them townhomes, they're just basically, you know, connected, single-family homes, but age-restricted, 55 and over. So it's not a townhome as you would, I guess, normally associate that term with, okay? So there's a series of, you know, we call them front-loaded townhomes, but in reality, they're single-story. They're really not a townhome because they're not 2 or 3 stories high. So if you look at that, and then we show duplexes, the only reason we differentiate between the two, because a duplex, we're calling that a solid 2 unit next to each other. A townhome, we're showing that can be, you know, 3, 4 units connected. There's varying sizes.
What's the max?
The max, I believe, is 4, that are connected. So, I mean, maybe we didn't make that clear enough from the beginning. I thought we had, because we're going strictly age-restricted, we said that from the beginning. And you know as well as I do, that type of product is not conducive to multi-floor, is not conducive to a lot of stairs. The clientele simply is not, that's not what they want.
Well, we want, like you said, we want wider lots, and terminology of townhouse in this particular instance is misleading. And if you've got duplexes, why don't you make all the townhouses duplexes? Said you have some that just have 2 units in, your max is 4. Split those, make them duplexes. Come on, work with us here on this. We're trying to get this project across the finish line for you, but, you know, you want to stop at the back turn and not go any further. Now, that's not the way we want to do it.
Well, when you said that I'm, like, this is a request of the plan commission. I mean, I can't sit up here and force anything upon you guys. I mean, so that's all it's been, is a request from day one. And as soon as, you know, this is probably the best discussion we've had about Bay Bridge in almost 3 months.
Okay, grab a seat, and I'm gonna call for your administrators, please. All right, I'm gonna call for your administrators on Bay Bridge. I am gonna keep this to 30 minutes also, so that means it's 9:30, this will be over. Come to the podium and name and address, please.
Hi, Sarah Devine, 6200 West 147th Avenue. I understand the existing outlet, speaking of, is through 148, also known as Cherry. As far as I'm aware, this does not outlet to Rita Road. It goes to 147th Avenue, which is very tight. It is barely double lane. You have to pull over if we have oncoming traffic. We have a blind hill coming through there. We have neighbor kids who like to play on the blind hill, and it would be a dangerous situation if we allow access for me to this through 147th Avenue. So,
You're talking about Bay Bridge?
yes.
You need outlets on 147th or Reader? I'm sorry.
I beg your pardon?
You said outlets on Reader or 147th?
So 148, as
One,
far,
I see 148, yeah.
It works its way up there, that's what I was talking
yes,
about.
13th Street,
It goes
147th
through
Central.
unincorporated subdivision and then goes back into the town, but I'm not even sure that stub, at least between the subdivisions, is even platted right away. And she makes me all concerned about right-of-way conditions, like roadway conditions and traffic loading and, yeah, width. None of those are improved to our standards. They're not even in the town.
Furthermore, Montgomery Street, which they are seeking to open, is partially open north of the platted lot. It's a gravel road. It would have to be paved. The county would require that, I believe. And that also would outlet your 147th Avenue. We'd have the same problems. So.
Okay.
That was it mainly. Also, I don't know if y'all are familiar with the Lakedale Bridge area, but that is also extremely tight, that bridge. And there are fishermen there, and it's barely 2 lanes, but it is.
It's barely a bridge.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just something to consider, but, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Chuck Better, 6100 West 136th Place. For one, there's been no planning whatsoever on this. We're wasting everyone's time by having a public meeting. None of this has been talked out. There's been no negotiations. August 9th meeting, 3 hours and 20 minutes into it, he asked for a public meeting. We're not there. But yet, somehow or another, he's volunteer. None of these developments have been discussed and planned properly. How is this happening? We're wasting everyone's time by doing it. You need details. You need details. And no matter what kind of planning goes on from now on, we need twilight clauses. He's bringing stuff from 18 years ago?
I completely agree with you. And you can't even have proper planning with all this approved stuff that's hanging out there in the weeds that nobody ever builds. You can't plan for sewer, you can't plan for water, you can't plan for streets, firemen, police officers. You can't plan for anything when you've got this stuff laying out there in the weeds with no expiration date on it.
Like you said, there's no, with one entrance on the original one, okay, well, times change. We need 2. I mean, things change over the years. We get more traffic now. More developments have been coming in. Standards change. We can't be held responsible for something that got or not platted, but zoned 18 years ago. I mean, it's just irresponsible allowing public meeting, wasting everyone's time when this development in particular, 1 out of 3, right now, none of this stuff has been discussed. You've tried to, but it's been a one-way thing, take it or leave it, basically. I don't see, heck, I think we should all move to high school, have the meeting in the high school for more people to be here, so not everyone's jam-packed. Why would he get planned in before January? He's not going to build any 3 developments before the end of the year. Why does it have to be right before January, trying to cram all these in? That's not even planned. Gee, it makes you wonder. That's all.
Tracy Haskell, 13436 Osborne Street. The school districts pay for engineering. The school districts pay for traffic studies. We don't have funds like developers. We take taxpayers' money to do that, to get our stuff passed through planning. I suggest maybe you need to talk to your developer, Lotton. And if schools can do it, he's got the money to do it.
Hello, Tamara Collison, 13626 Morse Street. So I want to just kind of make a general comment about what's going on with the building. Why is it every single subdivision has to have townhouses now? And they have to have condos, and they have to have paired cottages. You go on the west side of the lake, and all of those look like cookie-cutter homes. I think it's ugly. I think we have please. Can't somebody just build single-family homes? I think it's all greed. You know, they want to put more people, you know, let's stack them up. Let's build them cheap, stack them, put them on small lots, and get lots of money. And that's what I see. You know, I live on Morse, and I've lived in Cedar Lake 35 years. I've lived on Morse for 14 of those years. I can barely back out of my driveway now. The traffic has gotten so bad. And I think all these things need to be taken into account. You know, I don't like all the townhouses and paired cottages and all that. Forget the PUDs. Let's just do residential. Let's put regular houses in. That's all I
Hi, my name's Ryan Baum, 14701 Morse Street. It's pretty evident that people don't want this, right? And I would like to remind everyone that just because you have zoning doesn't give you a building permit. You know, I just built a house here, I put a lot of money into it before I see anything. And you guys gotta do that too. It's not planned correctly, this is jamming houses down. So everybody knows it, and they're not willing to budge. We don't want it.
Ken Lewis again. I just asked you to please.
Your address?
11601 West 126th Avenue.
All right, thank you.
I just want to say, please vote your conscience, because it's pretty obvious that these people are not willing to compromise. Thank you.
Jeff Yager, 14722 Reeder Court. I walk through there every day with my wife and dog. 147th Street, 2 cars can pass for maybe 2 blocks. Then it goes around a big tree, and it's maybe a car and a half for 2 blocks. And it's gravel, just gravel, 1 lane, all the way back into where the farm used to be back there. There's still a big barn back there. I don't know, it's not even in Cedar Lake, it's Crown Point, unincorporated. Cedar Lake has nothing to do with that. Who's going to develop that? I mean, are they going to be putting all the roads in to get back there? Reeder Road has no sidewalks. We walk strollers and dogs, and cars are 45 miles an hour. It says 30, but they're doing 45, 50 miles an hour through there. We risk our lives just living there. What's it going to be like when you start putting all these Chicago-style houses in there? People from Illinois are nuts buying this stuff.
Any other administrators?
My name's Angie, I live 12806 Lee Court. And I don't have anything to say about this particular project, but what I have to say is that the proceeding of this commission meeting, I believe it was Mr. Hunley had said that there was somebody on this commission removed at the 11th hour.
Ma'am, we would like to keep this to Bay Bridge. At the end of this meeting, we'll have public comment. You can come up and comment on that.
Can I finish my one thought? I just want to know who David Abshire is. That's it. Thank you.
Who what?
Who the man missing tonight is. David Abshire, do you know?
I don't know who it is.
Oh, he's the one that's going to replace one of your commissioners.
I guess, I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Dan Powers, 15020 Clark, I'm right on the right side of this subdivision. You know, we can't stand in the way of universal progress. None of us really mean to. However, there is a taste of flavor to small rural towns like this. Cedar Lake has its own, and it's growing it, and it's wonderful. You guys are doing a great job on that part of it. However, we look at this, how many homes planned total, gentlemen?
587, gentlemen. All the units are right here, and then up to 587.
Okay, 587, that's a big number, but it's not that big until you think about the other 587 we just voted in tonight. Double them up. Every road, the infrastructure people are talking about, what happened? How did all that fall through the cracks? This is, you better think about this long and hard, because you don't get this back once you let go of the control of this. You know, gentlemen, I'm sorry if John's going to spank both of you when you get back, but this, you pissing all over the people in here is a really, really bad idea. You know.
Any other remonstrators? Come forward.
May I say something?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I already spoke.
Nick Recupino, 14110 Cottage Grove Street here in Cedar Lake. Coming here as a resident. You guys, I served on, you guys know what I serve on now, but I served on the Board of Zoning Appeals before for 6-7 years. And I believe that the folks serving on these boards and commissions need to have all the information. There's no omission. You need the facts so you guys can plan correctly, or else you'll have incompetence, as you mentioned, Mr. Parker. So I want to share with you guys some data. I appreciate, Mr. Kapora, you mentioning the wastewater treatment plant and our water here on the east side. I just want to hone in on a couple items which are public. We talked about them at the utility board meeting. The Joint Management Oversight Board, which handles the wastewater treatment plant between Lowell and Cedar Lake. We do that jointly. There's a couple of details I want to share with you guys. And Don, if you want to chime in, if I'm incorrect on anything, please let me know. The wastewater treatment plant does have a capacity of 2,900 units. However, we approved what we call the Westler Task Order 15. So that is an evaluation of the wastewater treatment plant. At the 7/25/2023 JMOB meeting, it was stated that this task order will reevaluate projections of flows. Stated it looks like flows might be higher than anticipated over the next couple of decades. This is from the YouTube stream that I watched. So they're stating that the flows may be off. There's also another task order that they're preparing to do, which is Task Order 16. And Task Order 16 will pick the plan apart in more detail. It will determine what IDEM will be requiring in the future based off of evaluation. Craig Hendricks I think his name's Craig Hendricks, he's the town manager down Lowell. He stated that there's some emergency on this, so they want to get this going right now. Also, our east side water system has an immediate capacity of 91 permits. 91 permits, okay? And now, there's projects in the works, nothing's guaranteed though, but our duty, your guys' duty, is to protect the interests of the current residents first. That is cutting us sin, all right? These are all facts. I have no bias other than to make sure you guys got the facts that you guys need to make an informed decision, just as I want done for me and provided for me. So, we've got 91 permits that can be immediately granted on the east side, and the wastewater treatment plant there's some cloudiness to this. There's nothing guaranteed in those numbers. So, a really dear friend of mine once said that we have more questions than answers, and for that, we need to pump the brakes on this stuff quite a bit. You guys need to make sure that you guys get with the council, figure out what the plans are, the utility board as far as infrastructure, and most of all, the current residents don't want to pay for any of this stuff. We don't want to pay for, we don't want to pay for the capacity now for the current residents. The residents, we don't want to pay for this stuff. Okay? If you want to come here in the town, you participate. I know that hasn't been talked about now, but that's my stand. So, more questions than answers. I hope you guys take that into consideration.
I can't even begin to tell you how much I appreciate it.
Greg, as a resident, I appreciate the handful of you guys that are vetting this stuff and working for the current residents here. From the bottom of my heart, it is.
Appreciate it.
Here, here.
Thank you. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
Hi, my name is Tom Woods, 12334 Kennedy Street in Cedar Lake. I just got a few words. This is the making of South Village, Illinois, in the works. Helping something like this go through. That's all I got to say.
Anybody else? Any administrators? Just please.
May I say one more thing? Cedar Divine, 6200 West 47th Avenue. Yeah, it's, our neighborhood's been around for a while. My grandparents settled here like 50, 60 years ago. Very small, very quiet neighborhood. We really want to keep it that way.
Anybody else?
Mr. President, I received written communication regarding this petition earlier today. If you'd like, I would read it into the record.
Please.
To the town of Cedar Lake, we received notification in the form of a certified letter from J3 LLC about the rezoning of the land known as Bay Bridge. We are assuming a rezoning is for the purpose of putting in a subdivision in this area north of 153rd Avenue, Cedar Lake. We own the property near this area, and our residence is on 147th Avenue, Crown Point, Indiana. Our family has owned properties in the subdivision for 60 years. Consequently, there are 5 different Divine families who live near or on this road. We are extremely concerned if this subdivision is put into place. There will be a lot of construction traffic through our small neighborhood streets to get access to this area for developing the subdivision. Our streets are narrow, and when 2 vehicles are coming down the road, especially if one is a truck, bus, garbage truck, etc., the other must pull off to the side of the road so that vehicle can pass. We have already experienced some semi-trucks pulling logs out of this proposed area down King Street. Our neighborhood streets cannot handle this much traffic. We also have a blind hill on 147th Avenue that is dangerous if anyone is riding bikes, such as neighbor children, and a car comes cruising down or up that hill. Increased traffic on this road would only heighten that hazard. We do not have sidewalks in our neighborhood that would provide an alternative path for walkers or bikers. Not only are our roads narrow, 147th is only partially paved in front of our residents, leaving the rest of the road gravel. We were required to pave this road in front of our residents by the county when we built our home here in 1993.
and this road is used for main access, it should be paved completely to the proposed property known as Bay Bridge. Has this been communicated to the developer? If this developer wishes to rezone the land for a subdivision, we will request to get access in the Lakedale area instead of the access roads off of 147th Avenue, my apologies, and King Street in our neighborhood. As we see more and more subdivision added to Cedar Lake, consideration must be given to the extra traffic that puts on our roads and the frustration it brings to residents here. While the developing of Cedar Lake is a beautiful thing to behold, the added traffic is becoming quite the problem. At least in our quiet neighborhoods, we don't want continuous traffic or construction traffic up and down our streets all day. Respectfully, Urban Ronda Devine.
Before you close, you mind if I ask for anybody online to speak?
Go ahead.
If anybody's online, I know there's 5 attendees. If you want to speak, please raise your hand and we'll allow you to talk. Nope.
Nobody? Okay. Seeing nobody else, I'm going to close this public portion of Bay Bridge. Gentlemen, come back up, please. Building Department.
We got a resubmittal with some red line comments last Friday, as Mr. Kill indicated earlier. I am currently working on a review through that and need to touch base with our legal counsel on this matter regarding this item.
Okay. Commissioner, got any other comments?
Yes, the entrance and exit, they're both north, or south of 147th, right?
That is, yes, that's correct.
Have you been, that's the unincorporated area, right?
We do know about the streets, we do know that they're gravel, we understand about paving. So,
Has the county approved your, or anything about your use of that property coming out of their roads?
well, there's either a dedicated right-of-way or scripted right-of-way, but the bottom line, there's a right-of-way there. We do understand about the improvement of the roads and all that stuff, yes. Paving. We understand they have to be paved.
Is that on your drawing?
That's off-site of the drawing, that would be on the engineering plans.
There are steps to this project that must still occur after that, where those details would be shown.
Okay, any other questions?
No, again, like I mentioned last week, I know I was on the other side of this table 15 years ago, 18 years ago. None of us like it. The growth is coming. I'm glad we got a lot of remonstrators here. This is definitely unique. It's a area that was approved quite a while ago for PUD. East of here is I-65. The growth is coming down I-65, as we all know. Someday that lane, those roads will be much wider. Again, with the ability of capturing some residential TIF and coming up with some compromises, will, as hard as it is to swallow today, truly change our community for the better. We will be a reconstructed east side of the town, and today we don't have that. Most of our roads are not roads. We inherited goat paths, et cetera, and we're putting Band-Aids on them. But proper infrastructure is very important. I travel a lot with my job. I go to each and every community around the country for the most part throughout my career, and it's amazing when you go to different towns and cities and you see what's good and you see what's bad, and the things, based on where we're located in the economy, or the economic advantages of Indiana, both from a business as well as a residential standpoint. There are a lot of people trying to get here, so, I liken this project to essentially like the Gates of St. John, if you will. No. Some compromise for sure needs to be given, but I think from a grander, larger scale, there is some positives that we can take away, and that's all.
I jotted down 10 issues with this particular development, and that's not all. All the PUD guidelines have not been met. Don Alphin's comments and his letters and concerns have not been met. The 2 exits are not adequate. The traffic flow study hasn't been done.
Can't hear.
I'm sorry. The traffic flow study has not been done. The northern access is questionable. The southern access is questionable. Some of it is outside Cedar Lake's jurisdiction. The title work for 143rd to Reeder Road is not done. There's no studies on the bridges. The 5-foot side yards are not allowable in any instance. And with that, I'm going to make a motion to table this item until such time that the work that needs to be done to it can get done to it. So this even is not embarrassing to have a public hearing for this community.
Second?
Yes.
I got a motion by, Mr. Parker to lay this on the table, and a second by Mr. Carnahan.
Can I say something that might save some time?
No.
No.
There's no discussion on laying on the table.
Well, we weren't given an opportunity, but look, my client is not, look, we could come back, work through 3 months, 4 months of work, spend lots of money. There's a couple things my client is not going to bend on. He's not going to bend on his It's a waste of time. Just call it without
There's no discussion on this. Now, I need a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Carnahan?
Yes.
Mr. Foreman?
No.
Mr. Hunley?
Yes.
Mr. Sharp?
No.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Capuro?
Yes.
Thank you.
Number 7, Fountain Street.